back to the Multiplex. We're three buddies that met in England, and now we have a film podcast. Introducing our co-hosts. I'm Sophie.
I'm Mitch.
And I'm Tejas.
Today we'll be talking about A24's new romance thriller, Love Lies Bleeding. Spoiler alert warning, guys. We will be talking about the plot, so just letting you know. But Tejas, why don't you start by giving us a short summary of this movie?
Absolutely, Sophie. I'll take it from here. So, Kristen Stewart works a shit job at a gym. Get it? I'm hilarious, guys. I'm the vice president of UCLA's comedy club, guys. Actually, I'm not really anymore. I'll continue with the summary. But when she meets Katy O'Brien, who plays a bodybuilder whose only dream is to perform at a show in Vegas and not trip out, but I think she kind of fails that part. The two must overcome their collective daddy issues, mommy issues, and everything in between to be gay, do crimes, and take care of Kristen Stewart's cat, because that cat was really adorable.
Wonderful plot summary. Thank you, Tejas.
Can't imagine anyone needing anything more to understand this entire movie, right?
No, you've hit all the points. Besides Ed Harris's terrible wig, but we'll start with the story, guys. So what do we think about the story? Interesting, crazy?
It was interesting. I let me just first start off by saying that Sophie, you are a lot better at that intro than I am. That is not my strong suit, but so maybe you should do it from now on. But yeah, podcast aside. Movie time. I know that you two liked the movie quite a lot, a fair bit.
I really did enjoy the movie.
And you two know that I didn't enjoy it very much at all. There was parts that I enjoyed.
Very interested to hear why.
Yeah, there's bits that I enjoyed, and I think you'll find that that's more stylistically. The stylistic choices I enjoyed a fair bit more than the story, which is what you're asking about now, Sophie, and I'll go as far to tell you that one of the biggest comparisons that I can draw to this movie is actually one that was released last year. I want you guys to have a crack at what you think I'm thinking of when I say when I left this movie, I had the same feeling as when I left this other movie that I'm referencing as well from last year.
I hope it's not Drive Away Dolls.
No,
that was released this year.
Yeah, that was 2023.
Yeah. Well, Drive Away Dolls is basically, it wants to be Love Lies Bleeding after watching this movie. But,
Movie last year? That you... I'm assuming you didn't like this movie because, you had the same... No, okay, no, it's just...
I can't remember if you guys liked it either, actually. Let me just quickly pull up Letterboxd and see if you guys enjoyed it.
Oh, pulling up the Letterboxd moment.
No.
Guys, could we get any more film nerd?
Can confirm you both loved it.
Oh, no.
We both loved it.
Which does make sense, to be honest. You both loved that. You both loved this. And I didn't like either of them.
No movies come to mind. I am also a little bit under the weather, so that might not help.
Well, I'll end this guessing game now and say it was Saltburn.
Really?
Yeah,
I had a lot of problems
actually
with
a
Saltburn.
very apt comparison.
Yeah, and I have a lot of problems with this too. And it has mostly to do with the screenplay, I think, because both of those movies are really stylistically cool.
Yeah.
They're both period pieces as well. Saltburn a little later on than Love Lies Bleeding, but stylistically both very cool, really cool costumes, really cool characters at the center, really great sort of production design, the setting, the cinematography is all really cool. But I think it's let down massively by its story, which is a bit nonsensical and plain silly, if you ask me. The direction that it goes in, specifically a few choices made towards the end of the movie. I think the end of the movie is very back heavy. Everything happens in the last 30 minutes, and I was not on board with what was going on. It didn't earn my respect to be able to be as stupid as it become. I feel like the movie didn't take itself seriously enough. I would have done with a bit of a more serious tone than it gave itself, and I think which is a bit disappointing because I really liked, as I said, I like the style. I love the red neon. I love the cinematography. There's some really cool montages in there. Yeah, so I was a bit disappointed, but there's a bit to take out of there. I did enjoy parts of it, so I'm interested to hear what you guys thought and why you guys liked it so much compared to what I thought.
Yeah,
I guess.
Tejas?
Like specifically with the Saltburn thing, I want to clarify. I enjoyed watching Saltburn in a packed theater because it was just
Yeah.
a fun time. But I understand that, like looking back on that movie, it is a mess and it is just a watered down version of The Talented Mr. Ripley. And I understand that Saltburn is a terrible movie now. I've changed my ways, but this movie. I personally love this movie. I did not have a lot of gripes with the screenplay. Like I do agree with you, it is way too back heavy. There's a lot of like backstory information that is kind of central to who these characters are that only kind of crops up in the last 30 minutes of the movie, which at that point it is a little bit late to start introducing that stuff, and I would have liked to see it. But for me, I was on board with everything that happened the whole time because of a lot of really strong directorial choices made by Rose Glass, that just captivated me and honestly our entire audience. Like this is kind of a theme. Like if I watch a movie with a good audience, I will
Mm-hmm.
probably like it more than I should, and I'll just be like biased to like it. Like we watched it in a crowd full of like film nerds who are like gasping and like like the whole time, like for like every single like beat in this movie, because there were a lot of them. There were a lot of like shock and awe moments. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I agree with you, Mitch. Like stylistically, this movie was firing on all cylinders. Incredible cinematography. I don't know who the DP for this movie was. Pull up the
I can
IMDb.
answer. The DP was Ben Fordsman.
What's
Yeah,
he
And he
done?
no.
Do we
also
know?
DP'd for no, he also DP'd for Rose Glass's first feature film. And he also DP'd for The End of the Fucking World, that TV show.
I like that show,
You
but
mentioned something when you were talking there, Tejas, that it was back heavy and, well, yeah, well, you were expanding what I was saying, where it was back heavy and they introduced all these new characters towards the end. And I'll say that the movie is an hour and 44 minutes long. It would have benefited from being at least an extra 15 minutes, rounded off to 2 hours, but it could have easily gone further and it would have benefited heavily from that because it didn't give its story enough time to expand. And there's a bit of the main character, she dives into this sort of spiraling drug addiction trip and her life just goes awry, and I didn't really buy that downward spiral because we didn't spend enough time watching that happen. It sort of clicks, and I was like, oh, I'm left wanting more because we didn't get to see it sort of disintegrate and her life sort of divulge into this mess. And it's sort of at that point where the story picks up and things start happening, is that point where she flips on a switch and becomes a different person. And I would have liked to have seen that process extended out a bit more, maybe in that extra 15 minutes that I'm after, as opposed to what I believe is too short of a movie as well.
Mm. Well, my thoughts on the story. I really like diving into a time period. So I really like that it took place in 1989. I just love the costumes, love the hair. And I thought that the two main characters, Lou and Jackie, were so fun. I really like Jackie. Like, I haven't ever seen a movie where it's about what's the competition where they're doing like the buff thing?
like
Just
bodybuilder
bodybuilder.
competition.
Yeah,
Bodybuilding
yeah.
comp.
I've never seen a bodybuilder like woman on film before as kind of like a woman competition. I only think of Arnold Schwarzenegger. So it was really nice to see Katy O'Brien play this character. I just really enjoyed it. And Kristen Stewart, I don't really like her acting that much, but I thought in this film that she did a good job, so I was compelled by it. But I love their relationship, both of them, and I love Katie's spiral, going crazy with the strong drug.
Steroids.
Yes, I love her going crazy
Strong
with
drug.
steroids.
That's a good one.
That's what I'm gonna call it now.
Yes, I loved that. Again, stylistically, oh my god, it was so scary, that scene when she was in the bodybuilding competition and then she just throws up Kristen Stewart. It was so crazy.
Yeah, the way that they filmed that with like, it looked like they were just like had like a pretty steady camera, but then they were just like swinging the lights on like a string in the background to like make it seem like the world is moving around her, which I thought was like really good effect. Whoever came up with that, you deserve to get paid more than you did.
Yeah, and then, but I was really confused by the ending. Like, why were they suddenly big? Like, I didn't understand that. So I was hoping that maybe you two have a theory for what happened.
Yeah, I guess like after I saw it, I was in the same boat as you. Like obviously we talked about it a lot, but I kind of realized that like them just becoming giants and like go like running like above the clouds was supposed to symbolize like them kind of growing above their trauma and like overcoming it, like literally over it, which makes sense from a story perspective, like a character perspective. It makes sense. I don't know why they did that. Like at this point, neither of them were on drugs. I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, and what you mentioned there, neither of them are on drugs, is I don't know too much about steroids, but the sort of trip that she goes on, I was sort of questioning like, does steroids actually do that to you? Is that something that steroids can do? I don't know. Maybe I should have looked it up before, and I'll look it up as soon as I finish speaking, and I'll get back to you. But like, steroids, are they hallucinogenic? Do they make you go crazy like that? But I think, yeah, that ending where they're both big giants or whatever was obviously metaphorical because, well, I'm hoping it was. Otherwise, then the movie just becomes extremely silly, more than it was. But I think, yeah, it was metaphorical for exactly the reason you said. They've become above what's brought them down their whole lives, or maybe they've. I don't really know, to be honest. It is a very strange ending. I
Yeah.
struggle to interpret that, which is part of the reason why I also didn't like the movie. I thought it had a very ambitious ending that it didn't do enough of the legwork to set up.
yeah, I guess.
Oh, Tages.
Oh, I was gonna comment on something Mitch said earlier about wanting 15 more minutes from this movie and that it was too short. I actually want to disagree with that. I thought this movie was the perfect length. Like in my opinion, an hour 45 minutes is the ideal length for a movie. Like anything longer and you have to justify that. But I guess my problem with the movie is that I feel like its scenes and character reveals could have been restructured a lot. And I know that they wanted to keep things light and focused on the romance, which like my god, the two leads in this movie, like Kristen Stewart and Katy O'Brien, have chemistry. Like Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. But I think amidst like the 50,000 like sex scenes there are in this movie, like I feel they probably could have like shifted some of the character reveals. Like I really wanted to know more about who Kristen Stewart's character was, because like at the end it's revealed like, oh, she like did all her dad's dirty work, like did all of this like gang shit, like, and we learned that at the end. But I feel like it would have been a lot more impactful to know that kind of earlier, and like so that way we see her present self grappling with like quitting that past lifestyle but still having to deal with all of this shit that happens in this movie. Because tonally, I think Mitch, you also mentioned wanting this to be more of a serious kind of thing, but I honestly kind of liked the campy, like almost campy. I don't think it was outright camp, it was like bordering, but like that over the top silly almost pastiche like tone of the film, it just kind of worked as in like we the audience were getting swept up in the roller coaster romance ride that this movie is. Just kind of like, I think the moment that exemplifies this perfectly is when Katy O'Brien's Jackie shoots Anna Baryshnikov's character in the neck, and we just see like blood splatter onto like Kristen Stewart's face. Like,
Oh,
if
that
I had
was
to
so.
if I had to pick a scene to encapsulate the tone of this movie, it would be that one. Because like, yes, his character just got shot, but it was just like, oh my god, that was out of like nowhere. And just that kind of tone applied to like everything else in the movie, like Jackie's muscles like weirdly like moving every time she injects the steroid.
Yeah.
I'll get back and say that I looked it up, and steroids can cause hallucinations, so maybe that was accurate. But
Interesting.
you're right. There's parts like that you mentioned where the steroids go in, and it makes a really cool sound effect. The sound design is really cool of the muscles growing and the veins popping. Obviously, that doesn't actually sound like that. It's just really cool. It's a cool little detail, and I think
Wait,
everything.
do your muscles not vein and pop like that?
Yeah, they don't make a big crackling sound when I tense my biceps. But yeah, the stylistic design of just small things like that is really cool. I think the costuming, the hair, the choice to have it in the 80s or very late 80s is very interesting. Like, it's not something that sort of gives much to the story, but it's there as part of the story, which I find really cool as well, because that's such a cool time period in terms of costumes, in terms of hair. It's not too far in the past where you're struggling to make a movie like this, but I think it's really cool.
Let's move on to objectively one of the coolest parts of this film. Let's talk about cinematography. So Tejas, do you want to take that away?
Oh boy. I feel like I've been talking a lot, so I'll just kind of keep it brief. But I thought the cinematography in this movie was absolutely fantastic. Like, all of the compositions, like the lighting design was all gorgeous. Like,
yes, I love the neon reds. Like,
the neon red,
specifically when they're
awesome.
staring into the camera after in slow motion, when Ed Harris and Kristen Stewart's characters, both named Lou, when they do that, it's really cool. I'm assuming they don't really give any reason as to why it's glowing neon red in the middle of the desert. I'm assuming probably brake lights or something, but it's just really cool. It's really, really cool. So you can speak as to maybe how they do that, Tejas, because you'd know, but it's such a really cool effect. I like that a lot.
If I had to guess how they did that, I imagine they would just like put a filter on the camera that blocks all like blue and green light frequencies from hitting the sensor, so they only capture like red wavelengths, so they can still give that light like shape and stuff. Like, I imagine it's something they would do in camera, since it looked like they were shooting on film. I can never tell with movies like film or digital these days, but it seemed like they were shooting on film. But yeah, like, all of the lighting was super character motivated, like, which was just amazing. Like, there was one sequence where I think Kristen Stewart was like getting something from a Coke machine, which is just glowing bright red, and is she talking to a cop or
no,
her dad?
Her dad.
Her dad, yeah, and there's just like red, like glow, like
just
like pushing onto their faces, and it's just little decisions like that. Like, in the hands of a lesser director and cinematographer, wouldn't have done that, and this movie would have just looked visually flat, boring, and uninteresting. But sorry, I keep forgetting the cinematographer's name.
It is
Ben Fordsman and Rose Glass. Yeah, the two of them just collaborate to just create consistently gorgeous images like throughout. I have no complaints with the cinematography.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Saint Maud?
I have not.
Neither have I.
I have not either.
As far as I know, it never got released in Australia. Because I remember seeing all the promotional material. Mind you, let's just have a bit of praise for A24. The promotional material for this movie is so good. Those posters are so iconic and instantly recognizable. I think they'll go down as like a classic movie poster. It's really, really cool. But they did the same thing for Saint Maud. Like, the poster for Saint Maud is burned in my brain. It's really, really cool. But I have not seen that, and as far as I know, it never got a wide release in Australia, at least, because I was waiting for it, and then next thing I know, it was well past its release date and I never saw it. So I'm still looking out for it if it pops up on streaming somewhere, but I would love to see that.
Yeah. Well, going back to cinematography, I really wanted to mention that I really like the intro where they have the starry sky and they just have that wide and then they zoom in on the grimy gym. I really like that intro. I was hooked. I was there.
Yeah, the opening montage is so cool as well when everyone's working out. Yeah. They've all got no tops on. It's showing all the posters on the gym wall. It's such a cool opening. I was so G'd up for the movie after that.
Yeah. And of course, I really like the ending composition where Kristen Stewart is dragging Daisy's body. But it's like it's focusing on Katy O'Brien just sleeping. And then suddenly you see out of focus Kristen Stewart just walking. Like, that is peak comedy. I loved it. I know it wasn't supposed to be comedic, but I really liked it.
I think it was supposed to be comedic.
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh,
absolutely.
Okay, then never mind. I loved it. I was like, yes.
Yeah, that was funny. That was very funny. There was a recurring... I suppose it's a recurring bit where they're having to carry these rolled up people in rugs, and it worked really well in that final scene.
Yeah. Well, moving on to performance and acting. Let's talk about Kristen Stewart, who, had a lot of hate for the Twilight series, but has been getting a comeback.
She's going to keep getting that hate here as well because she was terrible.
Oh, okay. Well,
I did not
there you
like
go.
her. And I tell you what, I really enjoyed Spencer the movie, and I thought she was really good in Spencer. I really enjoy that movie, and she knocked it out of the park there. And I was totally on board with the Kristen Stewart, Robert Pattinson renaissance that we were getting after Twilight. But this is sort of brought her back down to earth, I think. But I also think that's part and part the movie itself, because it, like you said, it is sort of campy and it is a bit over the top, and there is a certain vibe to it that she was fitting into, which maybe was a directorial choice. She was directing her actors to be a bit more like that. But when it stuck out to me the most was the towards the end at the final scene where her dad's got her pinned on the ground and she's yelling at him.
Oh my God, yes.
And I'm thinking, these line deliveries are really strange. Strange to the point where it does make me consider that maybe it was a directorial choice to have her act like that. But they were really strange, and I was like, this is not good acting, or not good acting on purpose to fit the movie, to make it a bit more campy and a bit, I don't know, to fit her character a bit better. What do you guys reckon? I
so
didn't like
agree,
her too
Mitch.
much, but yeah, it might be purposeful.
I thought she was good, and but that one scene, I was just, her line delivery, I turned to Tages and I said, really? Really? Like, that was just not good. Like, this is the climax, and you're delivering lines like, no, stop. Like, maybe you should rethink that. But
That's what
yes,
it sounded
I
like.
agree.
It sounded exactly like that.
Directors.
She's
Yeah.
like, no, stop. Please don't shoot me. I was like, what? This is really weird. And the dialogue matched as well. It was strange dialogue, and I was like, it was, yeah, like I said, it was so weird to the point where I thought it must have been intentional.
Yeah. Tages?
Oh, it definitely was intentional, and I want to go completely on the other end from you, Mitch. I thought Kristen Stewart was fantastic in most of the movie. I will agree that ending line delivery took me out a little. It did. But throughout the entire rest of the movie, I thought Kristen Stewart was doing a great job. I don't know if this is career best for her. I haven't seen a lot of her other movies. I haven't seen Spencer. I mean, obviously, we all know about Twilight, but I haven't seen much of Kristen Stewart post Twilight. But so I can't speak to career best or not. But I thought she did a fantastic job. She perfectly captured the vibe of a lesbian who'd own a cat. Like, that is what.
Yeah, you make a good point there.
That's exactly what she would act like.
She captures a good vibe of the movie, which is why I can say that, if it is intentional, there's not much I can say about the acting because it fits the vibe. But if it wasn't intentional, it was strange. So you're right.
Let's talk about Katy, because I really liked Katy O'Brien. I really liked her acting. But what about you two?
Awesome.
She was absolutely the heart of the movie for me. Her
sure.
performance was rock solid the whole time. Absolutely fantastic. And holy fucking shit, she is so built in this movie.
She is jacked.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
It is so cool. Seeing, just I don't know what it is. It's like looking at art, seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger, huge, big buff. It's it's art, and it's the same thing with her. Just seeing her, I think the hair adds to it as well. She got such a cool hairstyle, and just the form of her body, just the way the muscles are popping out, and it's just really cool. It's such a cool look, and I think I would love to be able to ask Rose Glass that question, that she must have done that time period on purpose, because that vibe of those clothes and that hair works so well with that bodybuilding
So agree.
Yeah. Well, actually, Katy O'Brien used to be a competitive bodybuilder, which is...
That was my next question. I was did she have to do this to get...
No.
Did she have to do all of that work to get in this role, or was she already they've done the reverse? They've picked the bodybuilder to act rather than picking an actor to become a bodybuilder.
Well, no. But the thing is, she's done actually a lot of roles. She was in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I saw that, yeah.
Quantumania.
Was this before or after
she
started acting, though? How did that go? I would like to know.
I'm pretty sure it was bodybuilder first, then acting, like
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. But Tages, you'd be very happy to know that she's in the upcoming Twisters movie.
That movie is going to be so good. I can't wait. I mean, why is Lee Isaac Chung directing that, for starters? But then anything with Glenn Powell from here on forward, I'm completely on board for.
I don't know about that one, but the movie looks really fun. It looks genuinely like a great time, even if the characters are all cliches. anyways, enough about Twisters. We'll talk about the movie when it comes out.
But
Potentially.
I do want to say also about Katy O'Brien, I just really like seeing her character grow throughout the film from at the very, very beginning where she doesn't have a place to stay, but she's still really motivated. And up until like the crazy scenes that she does, and then to the very end where she's sort of happy. But Tejas, what else do you think?
I mean, not just character growth, but like physical growth too. Like her physicality in the whole. I mean, just, like muscles just bulging and like her like physicality throughout is just like absolutely top tier. I think this is kind of more of a story thing, not a performance thing. But since it's specifically about her character, I'll bring it up now. I did not like the way that they portrayed her character throughout that movie.
Really?
Specifically, the way that they revealed her backstory, that she'd ran away from home.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I remember right at the end, she has like a call or something.
Yeah, it's out of
where
nowhere.
the mom is like, it's out of nowhere. She's just like, don't you ever like call this number again? And just like, I feel like this would have been good to know like an hour earlier than this.
Yeah.
Very odd.
Again, with like,
but like,
the
if you
movie
just
being
leave
back heavy.
If you leave that scene out of the movie, you sort of go away not even questioning that.
Exactly.
It has to be in there for a reason, and I struggled to find the reason why. It was very odd.
Yeah, I agree. Well, this Love Lies Bleeding cannot be a movie without Ed Harris, who plays Lou Sr. What did we think about his performance?
I mean, he does what he does in every movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say old reliable Ed. Yeah, he's
well.
very
Actually, a fun fact for our viewers: Ed Harris wore the long hair extensions as a joke, but Rose Glass really liked it, and so they ended up keeping it for the film. So
I'd love to know how that joke
funny.
sort of came about, though. Did he just rock up on set one day with really long hair as a joke, or
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just very strange. I would like to have known how that would have gone. Like, if she didn't include it in the movie, where does that joke finish?
No, I just think that one day he just showed up to set with a funny wig and then thought, haha, wouldn't that be funny if I just wore it? And then Rose Glass goes, yes.
It's wild, though. It is a wild haircut. Like, walking around like that is a strange choice.
Although it is very like Texas 80s, I feel like it just, we keep saying things fit the vibe of this movie, but that also just fit the vibe. Like, this movie just is a vibe, you know?
Do you want to know something really funny as well? About halfway through that movie, when Jackie and Lou start to sort of lose their minds and get into a lot of trouble, I'm thinking to myself, this guy is sort of like the most switched on person in this movie. He's like the most well-adjusted person here, even though he is obviously a gun smuggling criminal. I'm like, he's well-adjusted and not insane. And then he just goes and like starts munching a bug, and I was like, what the fuck? And that's one of those things that I'm talking about. No, it's not as bad, but it's a strange detail where the movie doesn't take itself seriously, and if that is a serious sort of part of the movie, it is doing those things like when I referenced in Saltburn, where I can mention a number of things in Saltburn that go off the tracks, but it is like that, doing something so weird that I feel didn't warrant and didn't deserve that, like being that out of pocket, and it sort of took me out. I was like, I'm not this invested, and you haven't done the legwork to make a movie this strange, and it's just such a strange character choice that came out of nowhere that I didn't buy because of that. Like, he is well adjusted until then, and then he starts eating the bug, and I'm like, why is he doing that? It's very strange, and it took me out. That's what I mean when I say I wish it had a more serious tone.
I mean, I think his character was just psychotic, and we just didn't see it.
I think you're right. Yeah, he was
started to see it.
Obviously psychotic, and he becomes that way at the end, very openly. But yeah, that's why I mean that I'd also like a few more minutes tacked onto this story to be able to delve deeper into that and sort of explore his psychoticism and more about what he does. He's a bit of an enigma, but maybe that's a good thing for the story, that you don't know too much about him. Adds a bit of mystery.
I mean, he sells cocaine. We saw it in those gun No, he transports guns, right? To Mexico.
Yeah,
That's what he does.
across the border.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I want to mention Dave Franco's character JJ
Oh
because he
man.
was
He gets hard done by. Yeah, he meets a poor
Yeah,
demise.
his performance left my jaw on the floor.
Good one.
whoa, but
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'd love to know how your theater reacted to that because my experience was, from the sounds of it, very similar to yours. We saw it in a place called Carlton, which is a very trendy place of Melbourne, where a lot of theatre kids, drama kids
Whoa.
attend, and I think the crowd was 100% under the age of maybe like 30. If you took like the average A24 enjoyer and put 30 of them in a theater, that was my theater. But it was very funny when you got to that scene in particular. It was very loud gasps from most of the movie. It was quite shocking. It was really, really, really cool. I loved that scene.
100%. Same reaction for us. Like we saw it at Century City, which like the tickets there always sell out so fast because they always play movies earlier than like anywhere else. Um, Although I think our age range was more diverse, still gasps the whole way through. Like
Well, right next to us was a bunch of kids our age, so
yeah,
we were seeing it with, I guess, the average A24 viewer. But yeah, it was so shocking when that scene came on and just the theater went, and then also that scene where Daisy gets shot, everyone was like, oh no, and then the scene where the cat licks the blood.
Yes,
oh yeah, and
yes. The her character is really interesting, Daisy's character. She's obviously like planted in that movie to be a plot device. Like it becomes
Yeah.
very obvious that she is. But you could feel there was a palpable energy in my theater at least that the entire theater was very fond of her, and the movie does a good job at like buttering you up to really enjoy this character and feel sorry for her. And I could see that coming from a mile away. I was like, the movie is doing so much to make you feel for this character and get you on her side. I
yeah.
was like, she's died.
Really?
Yeah,
I
like
hated Daisy's character.
really.
Yeah, I really disliked her. I think if you're forcing someone to have sex with you, I automatically hate you.
Well, I mean
So
that
I
was
hated
like
Daisy's character.
by that point in the movie, I feel like that was already like past the reveal of like who she truly was. Like in the opening, like 10 minutes, I was like, oh, she's that character. I feel like
I
she
did.
is a type of character that exists in movies. I didn't particularly like her, but like I just sort of figured she would be there and not really contribute much to the plot. And then when she like did like force Kristen Stewart into like fucking her, like I feel like there aren't a lot of representations of like the toxic like lesbians like that. I feel like in a different movie this would be like it like Kristen Stewart's character would be like a man trying to like hold her off at bay or something. I don't know. I'm just like I'm trying to articulate stuff and I'm not 100% coherent right now.
No, you're
But
good. I didn't like Daisy's character at the very beginning either because I didn't like the way she kept forcing Kristen Stewart to say no. She kept saying no, but Daisy did not take no for an answer. And again, if you don't take no for an answer, I don't like you. So I didn't like Daisy's character throughout the film.
Interesting.
But
I sort of not interpreted her different, but viewed her in a different way because in the end I thought they were implying that she was maybe not all there. Like she had a bit of mental problems and she was,
mm,
I don't know, I felt they portrayed her to be very innocent and maybe doesn't know any better, and that's why they've set her up to sort of be that way towards Kristen Stewart. She's obviously troubled, maybe some drug problems, but I don't know, in that scene leading up to her death, I felt they portrayed her to be a very innocent, wholesome person who just wants the best for Kristen Stewart, who she's unreasonably in love with for whatever reason.
hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Well, I mean, you can't have acting without directing, so let's move on to talking about Rose Glass. What do we think about her directing?
It's hard for me to give an accurate depiction of her directing style because this is the only movie I've seen of hers. Obviously, like I said before, I haven't had a chance to see Saint Maud, but I think that's one of the things I could take away from this movie, saying that I actually enjoyed. She was ambitious, stylistic, and she gave what would usually be a sort of run-of-the-mill film, maybe like you said, like in Drive Away Dolls, she gave it a different vibe. She gave it a really distinct atmosphere and a really distinct tone to the movie, which I appreciated because when I don't like something, I always try to look about something I can take from it. And there was a lot of things that I could take from that movie, even though I didn't enjoy it. So I really appreciated that, and I think that's a sign of a good director that she's able to get the best out of a film, even when there's aspects of it that I don't enjoy.
Yeah. Tejas?
I 100% agree with like everything Mitch was saying, even though like our takes on the quality of the screenplay like very much so differ. Like Rose Glass just imbued the film with so much energy, and like all of her directing choices, I said this earlier, like every single one just like completely resonated with me. Like the way that her characters move throughout a scene just feels organic, it feels natural, like they fill the frame, no space is wasted. Like I guess this is also a cinematography thing, but yeah, it's just the way she conveys like information to the audience. It all just felt very dialed in with this movie. Like there was always a sense that like the camera and like what Rose Glass was choosing to show us in the moment just kind of lagged slightly behind what, like it was almost like reacting to the roller coaster that the film was like trying to take us on, which I just think worked really, really well. And it resulted in a great, like I had a great time watching it. I was on the edge of my seat, just I wanted to know what happened. Every scene, like it felt like a bomb could just explode. Like it was just the tension was always like raised very high, which I think is good for a movie like this. Like not like a certain other very similar movie that came out like a month before. Yeah.
Are you referencing Drive Away Dolls?
Yes.
I haven't
the
seen
movie
that.
directed by a singular Coen brother.
Yeah.
It's bad.
I
It's
was really looking forward to it until I started seeing all the reviews for it.
It wants to be this movie so badly.
That movie left me with almost nothing to say about it. Like, it was a movie I saw and did not wish to remember, versus this movie, which is one that, like, Sophie and I, like, after the film, we just, like, drove across LA to just get some food and talk about it, because we just, like,
we got
wanted
fried chicken.
Korean fried chicken. It was, yeah, the places that are open late. It was kind of mid, but it is what it is.
No, but it felt like we needed fried chicken after this movie. It just felt right, you know?
You just needed like fried chicken and like 2 hours of conversation. And like, I think that is just a testament to the strength of Rose Glass's directing. And again, I've not seen a single other thing she's done. I only watched this movie because of A24's insane marketing machine.
Well, to hit you with some facts, Rose Glass actually co-wrote this film, but this is her second feature film that she's directed. So that's why you haven't really seen much of her, because this is her second. But that being said, I'm really excited to see what she does in the future, because if this is your second film, like, I can't wait to see what your fourth or your fifth is. Like, it's going to be really good, because every film's a learning experience, and so I'm really excited. And she's also from Essex, which is where my family's from, so woohoo. But
I will counter you British, but she rises above her background. Respect.
Yeah, but I'm really excited to see what Rose Glass does next.
I had a question for you guys about more specifically the movie rather than Rose Glass herself, but has to do with her writing. There's a lot of, one of the themes of this movie is obviously domestic abuse, a sort of generational domestic abuse, where it's implied that her father killed the mother, or at least got rid of her somehow.
Well,
yeah, I think it's
heavily implied.
Obviously a very abusive man, which then his daughter was subject to, and didn't sort of do anything about it. So she was sort of stuck in that rut, maybe because that's what she saw as normal growing up with her father and her mother. And then I almost think that it's suggested or implied that Jackie and Lou are going to have the same fate as her father and her sister. Either one of them is, well, at some stage they are both, well, more so Jackie towards Lou is quite abusive. That's more so when she's on the trip that she's going on from the steroids. But yeah, it's shown that they are abusive to each other at times. And I just wanted to ask you guys what you thought about that, whether you think that that's something that's sort of implied or suggested, or one of the themes of the movie that carries on through the whole way.
Tejas?
I did not get the implication that they were like their relationship was going to end badly, like end in it turning like abusive. That's honestly like why I kind of got with the ending when them turning into giants was Lou, I guess also Jackie, like the both of them rising over the trauma of their abusive pasts, which is like why I kind of took the ending to be more of like a strictly like happier thing. I might be misreading that, but yeah, like the whole like movie, it kind of felt like Lou was aware of her father's like bullshit, and like it I kind of got the sense that she wasn't gonna fall back in it. Also, like I guess I don't know if this is like a valid thing, but obviously like Lou is queer, and like the dynamics in queer relationships is just like inherently different from that of like hetero relationships. And yeah, I don't know, I did not get that vibe.
Well, I think there's a strong theme of love in the movie. Obviously, the title is Love Lies Bleeding, and throughout the movie, especially in Jenna Malone's character Beth, she's adamant that she loves her husband, who is obviously murdered, and she feels bad about it. Like, she's adamant that she loves him, and obviously before the ending has a nicer resolution for the two main characters, they are both adamant that they love each other, yet their relationship is so toxic, which sort of led me to the point that reminded me of her sister's relationship, where she's adamant that she loves her husband, yet he's such a bad guy to her. And the same with Lou. She's adamant that she loves Jackie, yet Jackie is always so bad to her. She's like, before she gets on the drugs, she's alright, but it's also possibly suggested that she's using her for sex and for a place to stay and for a free gym membership. But I don't think that's what the movie is implying.
Yeah.
But once she gets on the drugs, it's a toxic relationship. They don't have a very good relationship. Obviously, she's covering up a murder for her girlfriend. It isn't the most functional relationship, and it's what made me think that there's a relation there where her sister is always adamant that she loves her husband the same way that Lou is always adamant that she loves Jackie, and which made me think that potentially it's saying something about what you view as a child growing up being handed down to you as an adult, whether you accept whether one thing is normal and be blinded by what you think is love because that's what you've seen as love your whole life.
I mean, 100%.
I was gonna say that the Love Lies Bleeding is actually the name of a plant. And it looks like droplets of blood.
What?
But it's
That's
supposed
so
to
cool. I'm
symbolize.
gonna look that up.
Yeah. The plant actually symbolizes love and immortality, but I just searched it up. It is not toxic. Because I thought, wouldn't that be really cool if it was toxic? So
look
it's
at
like
that.
alluding to like a toxic relationship. But I think that the fact I think that Lou's character does end up falling. Like, she tries to step away from her dad's business, but when Jackie comes in, Lou gets back into the business. I mean, she literally shoots someone.
Yeah.
So she's doing the thing that she said that she didn't want to do. But that's why, Tejas, I think when she rises above in the clouds, that's why I don't think that they will have a toxic. I think their relationship was toxic to begin with, but I'm an optimist, so I hope that their relationship will be smooth sailing.
Look at us
But
go.
we'll
Look,
see.
my English teacher would be proud of me. Critical analysis.
Honestly.
Yeah. Ooh. All right. Well, guys, we're coming up on 46 minutes here, and I feel like that is a good enough time to talk about Love Lies Bleeding. But is there any final thoughts that you two want to say?
Not off the top of my head. Just go watch this movie in theaters. Don't wait for it to come to streaming. It is more enjoyable when you watch it with other people on a big screen. Not to be like the studio shill just telling you, oh, go, like, there's only one valid way to watch movies, but like, if you can,
There is only one valid way to watch movies.
like, if you can see it in theaters, like, with a big crowd, like, please do, because that will enhance your viewing experience.
Yeah, it is a good fun movie to watch with a big crowd. Yeah, if you've seen, as I keep bringing it back to Saltburn, I just felt they had such a big similarity, and it was really funny to me as well because I thought Saltburn, like, that is the epitome of what an A24 movie is, and to see that being produced by, or I think it was Universal Studios. I don't know who the studio was behind that, but
I think it was Amazon.
Amazon? Oh yeah, I think you're right. It's on Amazon. But yeah, to see that produced by someone who is not A24 or maybe Neon was really funny to me, and this to me feels like A24's Saltburn. I hope it does get the traction that Saltburn got as well, because I do think it is a better movie than Saltburn, and I think
Much better.
yeah, I think somebody like Rose Glass deserves the recognition that Saltburn gets, and yeah, I hope someone picks up her next project as well, because I'd be really interested to watch it.
100%. Like, where Saltburn was like a toothless critique of classism, I think this movie is like has a lot more to say, and is, I would go so far as to say, it is even more visually interesting.
Yeah,
like, it is,
I would say that too.
Like,
it is
much better cohesive product, like, from a technical perspective than Saltburn was, despite that movie's like gorgeous imaging. Like, this movie is just better made.
Okay. Thank you so much for tuning to episode 3 of the Multiplex, and make sure to tune in next week where we talk about the new Ghostbusters movie.
Oh man, oh boy, you're so excited. I can tell. Anyways, see y'all next week.
Thank you. Bye.
I worked out with a dumbbell yesterday. I feel vigorous.